the histories. Despite the perils, mothers like Sophia found strength in their role. Picture her in the market, bartering for cloth, her voice firm as she negotiates with a weaver. She is not merely a wife or mother, but a guardian of her family's future. Some women, like the midwife Lucia, turned their experience into power, their skills sought by the entire community. Lucia, we might imagine, has delivered half the children in Sophia's parish. Her hands a lifeline in the chaos of birth. Other mothers, in wealthier families, became matriarchs, their influence felt in the marriages they arranged or the households they ran. Sophia dreams of such a future, her children grown, her wisdom guiding them. The stories of mothers were rarely recorded, their lives overshadowed by the deeds of men. Yet their resilience shaped the Renaissance, their children, the artists, merchants, and priests of tomorrow. Sophia's love for Elena and Matteo is a quiet rebellion, a refusal to let loss define her. She sings to them of hope, of fields green with spring, of a world where their dreams might soar. Her voice, soft but steady, is a thread in the tapestry of Italy's history, a melody that lingers in the shadows. Dear listener, let your mind drift to a quiet studio in Cremona, where the soft light of dawn spills through a narrow window. It is the year 1492, and the air carries the scent of linseed oil and freshly ground pigments. Picture a woman, perhaps named Livia, standing before an easel, her fingers stained with ochre, her eyes tracing the lines of a half-finished portrait. In Renaissance Italy, art was a realm of men, its workshops and patrons a fortress few women could breach. Yet, women like Livia dared to paint, their brushes weaving dreams against a world that sought to silence them. Tonight, we step softly into their studios, where creativity was both a gift and a struggle. Let the gentle scratch of a quill on canvas guide you now, as we wander through their stories of defiance and beauty. Settle in and let the past unfold gently, like a sketch taking form in the morning light. Imagine Livia's studio, a small room tucked above her father's workshop, its walls lined with sketches and jars of pigment, vermilion, ultramarine, lead white. The floor is dusted with charcoal, the air heavy with the tang of turpentine. Livia is 20, her dark hair pinned loosely, her apron smudged with paint. She is the daughter of a minor painter, her talent nurtured in secret, for the art world of Renaissance Italy was a man's domain. In Florence, Venice, and Milan, workshops buzzed with apprentices, all male, their hands learning the craft under masters like Titian or Michelangelo. Women were muses, not creators, their faces immortalized in frescoes, but their names rarely signed. Livia's father, a kind but practical man, taught her to mix colors when she was a child, her small hands grinding lapis lazuli into powder. He saw her gift, but warned her of its limits. A woman's brush, he said, paints only in the shadows. Yet Livia persisted, her sketches filling the margins of his account books, her portraits capturing the souls of her siblings. In Renaissance Italy, women artists were rare, their numbers a mere whisper against the roar of male genius. But they existed. Sofonisba Anguissola in Cremona, Properzia de Rossi in Bologna, Lavinia Fontana in later years, each fighting to claim a place in a world that valued their beauty over their talent. Let us linger by Livia's easel, where she works on a portrait of her mother, the canvas glowing with soft hues of green and gold. Her brush moves with precision, but her heart is heavy with doubt. To be a woman artist was to face a labyrinth of obstacles. Workshops, the heart of artistic training, were closed to women, their doors guarded by guild rules and tradition. The painters' guilds, powerful in cities like Florence, required apprenticeships that girls could not enter. Anatomy, crucial for depicting the human form, was studied through dissections forbidden to women, their access to nude models deemed scandalous. Livia learned by copying her father's drawings, her knowledge pieced together from stolen glances and whispered lessons. Patronage was another barrier. Artists relied on wealthy patrons, nobles, merchants, the church, to fund their work. But patrons rarely trusted women with commissions. A woman's art was seen as a curiosity, not a profession. Sofonisba Anguissola, a rare success, painted portraits for the Spanish court, but even she faced skepticism, her work often credited to her male mentors. Livia, we might imagine, has painted a Madonna for her local church, her name unsigned, the priest praising the work but assuming her father's hand. The payment, a few florins, went to him, her contribution, a silent gift. To paint was to labor in obscurity, her talent a flame that burned unseen. Picture now the marketplace outside Livia's window, where women gather, their baskets heavy with bread and herbs. Livia rarely joins them, her days consumed by her craft, but their whispers reach her. A woman with a brush, they say, is no wife, no mother. In Renaissance Italy, a woman's value was tied to her role in the home, her hands meant for sewing or cradling children, not for painting. Livia's neighbors see her work as defiance, her unmarried status at 20 a mark of shame. Her mother, loving but weary, urges her to marry, to trade her brush for a dowry. Art cannot feed you, she says, her voice soft with worry. The church too cast its shadow. Art was a sacred act, its purpose to glorify God, but women were seen as unfit for such divine work. Preachers quoted St. Paul, declaring women's silence a virtue, their creativity suspect. Yet the church was also a patron, its convents and chapels adorned with altarpieces and frescoes. Livia dreams of such commissions, her sketches of saints and angels hidden in a wooden chest. She knows of Properzia de Rossi, who carved reliefs for Bologna's San Petronio, her talent winning grudging respect. But Properzia's life was a cautionary tale. Her commissions were few, her name slandered by rivals, her death in poverty a warning to women like Livia. Let us drift to the evening, when Livia sits by a candle, her fingers blending charcoal into a sketch of her sister. The studio is quiet save for the rustle of paper and the distant hum of the city. Livia's art is her rebellion, each stroke a defiance of the world's constraints. She paints in stolen moments, her work hidden from prying eyes. Her portraits, we might imagine, capture the soul of her subjects, the furrow of her mother's brow, the spark in her sister's eyes. These are not mere images, but stories, her brush giving voice to those who cannot speak. Sofonisba Anguissola's story offers a glimpse of such resilience. Born in Cremona, she trained under her father's guidance, her talent catching the eye of the Spanish court. Her self-portraits, painted in the 1550s, show a woman of confidence, her gaze steady, her brush bold. Yet, even Sofonisba faced limits. Her works were often unsigned, her role as a court painter secondary to her status as a lady. Livia, though less famous, shares this spirit. She paints for her own sake, her canvas, a world where she is free. Her father, seeing her talent, has begun to show her work to a local noble, a small hope that her art might find a patron. Yet ambition came at a price. Picture Livia now at a guild banquet, her presence a rarity, her father's invitation a grudging concession. The men around her, painters, sculptors, patrons, smile politely, but their eyes are cold. A woman's art, one whispers, is but a shadow of a man's. Livia's work, displayed in a corner, draws curious glances, but no offers. The guilds, gatekeepers of the art world, rarely welcomed women, their rules excluding all but a few. In Bologna, Propezia de Rossi faced similar scorn, her sculptures praised, but her life plagued by gossip. She died in 1530, her debts unpaid, her legacy fading, until later centuries revived her name. Livia too knows this risk. Her health is fragile, her eyes strained from late nights, her hands aching from grinding pigments. The materials of her craft, oils, canvases, brushes, are costly, her father's purse stretched thin. If she fails to find a patron, her art may remain a private dream, her studio a forgotten corner. Yet she persists, her heart tethered to the act of creation. She paints a self-portrait, we might imagine, her face half lit, her expression a blend of resolve and longing. This is her defiance, her legacy, a whisper of her soul preserved in paint. The women artists of Renaissance Italy were few, but their impact lingered. Sofonisba Anguissola's portraits inspired later painters, her work a bridge to the Baroque. Properzia de Rossi's sculptures, though few, showed women could master stone. Livia, though fictional, carries their spirit, her brush a beacon in the darkness. These women painted against the odds, their art a rebellion against a world that sought to confine them. Their canvases, their carvings, their sketches were not just art, but acts of courage, their hands shaping beauty where none was expected. Picture them now, in studios across Italy, their brushes moving in the candlelight, their hearts alight with dreams. They were daughters, sisters, creators, their lives a quiet symphony of defiance. Their art, though often unsigned, lives in the galleries of Florence, the churches of Venice, the archives of history. Let their memory linger now as the night deepens, as the studio fades into shadow. Dear listener, let your mind drift to a quiet street in Milan, where the soft glow of lamplight spills from a modest window. It is the year 1497, and the air carries the scent of wood smoke and autumn leaves. Picture a woman, perhaps named Antonia, sitting alone at a worn table, her black veil draped over her shoulders, a ledger open before her. In Renaissance Italy, widowhood was a shadow that fell suddenly, leaving women like Antonia to navigate a world of loss and uncertainty. Tonight, we step gently into their lives, where grief was a companion but survival demanded strength. These women, caught between mourning and resilience, wove their stories through the threads of a society that both pitied and judged them. Let the faint crackle of a hearth guide you now as we wander through their world of sacrifice and quiet courage. Settle in and let the past unfold gently, like a veil falling in the twilight. Imagine Antonia's home, a narrow house in the shadow of Milan's cathedral, its walls lined with memories of a life now gone. The fire in the hearth burns low, its embers casting a dim glow on her husband's empty chair. Antonia is 32, her dark hair streaked with early grey, her hands worn from years of managing a merchant's household. Her husband, Paolo, a cloth trader, died 6 months ago, his heart failing during a journey to Venice. His death left Antonia with 2 children, a small store of florins, and a future as uncertain as the autumn winds. In Renaissance Italy, widowhood was a common fate, for plague, war, and illness claimed men young and old. Yet, for women like Antonia, it was a turning point, a moment when the world shifted beneath their feet. Widows were a visible presence in cities like Milan, Florence, and Venice, their black veils a mark of loss, but also a badge of survival. Parish records from the period suggest that nearly 1 in 4 women over 30 was a widow, their lives reshaped by the absence of a husband. For some, like noble women, widowhood brought a measure of freedom, a chance to manage estates or wield influence. For others, like Antonia, of the merchant class, it was a descent into precarity, their survival hinging on wit and resourcefulness. The church offered prayers for their souls, but society offered little mercy, its laws and customs a maze of restrictions. Let us linger by Antonia's table, where she pores over her ledger, her quill scratching out sums in the candlelight. Her husband's death has left her with debts, unpaid bills from his last trade, a loan to a cousin, a tax owed to the city. In Renaissance Italy, a widow's legal status was a paradox. Upon marriage, a woman's property became a husband's, but in widowhood she might reclaim her dowry, if it still existed. Antonia's dowry, a modest sum of gold and linens, was spent years ago on Paolo's ventures, leaving her with little to claim. The law, rooted in Roman codes and enforced by city councils, gave widows some rights but many burdens. She could inherit a portion of her husband's estate, but only if there were no male heirs, and even then it was often contested by his kin. In Florence, the Statute delle Vedove regulated widows' lives, dictating their dress, their movements, even their remarriage. A widow was expected to mourn for a year, her black gown a symbol of piety, her seclusion a sign of virtue. To remarry too soon was to invite scandal, as neighbors whispered of disloyalty. Antonia feels this weight, her veil a constant reminder of her loss, her neighbors' eyes watching her every step. The church too played its part, urging widows to remain chaste, their lives dedicated to prayer or charity. Yet, for a woman like Antonia with children to feed and a house to maintain, chastity was a luxury, survival a necessity. C'è now a market square in Milan, where Antonia barters for bread, her children clinging to her skirts. A neighbor, an older woman with kind eyes, mentions a suitor, a widower with a tannery, seeking a wife to manage his home. Remarriage was a common path for widows, especially those with young children. For a husband brought security in a world unkind to women alone. Yet it was a path fraught with peril. A new husband could claim Antonia's remaining wealth, control her children, or demand her submission. In Venice, records show that many widows remarried within 2 years. Their choice is driven by poverty or pressure from kin. Antonia, we might imagine, hesitates, her heart torn between her children's needs and her fear of a new cage. Some widows resisted this pressure, choosing independence over marriage. Bianca Maria Visconti, a noblewoman of Milan who died in 1468, was a rare example. After her husband's death, she ruled as regent for her son, her intelligence and resolve shaping Milan's future. But Bianca Maria was an exception, her wealth and status a shield Antonia cannot claim. For merchant-class widows like Antonia, independence was a fragile dream, their survival hinging on their ability to navigate a world that saw them as burdens. She considers the tanner's offer, her mind weighing the cost, her freedom, her children's inheritance, her heart's quiet grief. Let us drift to the evening, when Antonia sits by the hearth mending her son's tunic, her needle moving with practiced care. Her children, Luca and Maria, sleep nearby, their faces peaceful. Wardrobe, where men's clothing was kept, their shelves now bare. Antonia's days are filled with labor, selling Paolo's remaining cloth, bargaining with weavers, managing the household with a dwindling purse. Widows like Antonia often inherited their husband's trade, but without his connections, her customers are few, their offers low. She takes in sewing, her fingers aching as she stitches by candlelight, each coin a step toward feeding her children. In Renaissance Italy, widows were expected to support themselves, but the market was a man's world, its profits skewed against women. The economic reality was brutal. A widow's dowry, if recoverable, was often tied up in legal disputes, contested by in-laws or creditors. Antonia's brother-in-law, a greedy man with a sharp tongue, claims half of Paolo's estate, his lawyer citing Milanese law. She fights him in court, her voice steady but her heart racing, knowing a loss could mean destitution. Many widows turned to charity, the church offering alms or convents taking them in, but such aid came with shame. Antonia refuses to beg, her pride a flicker of defiance. She sells her mother's silver ring, its weight a memory of better days, to buy bread and candles, her children's hungry eyes her only motivation. Yet, some widows found strength in their solitude. Picture Antonia at a loom, weaving cloth to sell, her hands steady despite her weariness. A few widows, especially those of the merchant or noble class, managed to carve out independence, running shops or estates. In Florence, widows like Alessandra Strozzi wrote letters, preserved in archives, detailing their efforts to manage family finances, arrange marriages, and secure their children's futures. Alessandra's letters reveal a woman of cunning, her pen a tool to navigate a world that sought to marginalize her. Antonia, we might imagine, learns from such examples, her ledger a map of survival, her calculations a shield against ruin. Antonia's small victories are hard won. She negotiates a contract with a weaver, her voice firm as she demands fair pay. She teaches Luca to read, hoping he might one day inherit his father's trade. These acts, though small, are her rebellion, a refusal to let loss define her. Some widows, like those in Venice's Casa delle Zitelli, a home for poor women, found community, their shared labor a source of strength. Antonia dreams of such a place, but for now, her home is her fortress, her children her purpose. Let us pause in the quiet of night when Antonia sits alone, her veil folded, her thoughts heavy with memory. Widows were pitied but also feared, their independence a threat to a society that valued women's submission. Neighbors whispered of Antonia's solitude, their words sharp, too proud to remarry. a burden on her kin. The church urged widows to enter convents or remarry, their freedom seen as unnatural. In Siena, sumptuary laws dictated widows' dress, their black gowns a mark of mourning, but also a cage, their lives scrutinized for signs of sin. Antonia feels these eyes, her every purchase, every step a subject of gossip. Yet she persists, her heart a quiet fire. She visits the cathedral, her prayers a plea for strength, her candles lit for Paolo and her lost dreams. Her resilience is her legacy, her life a testament to survival. She tells Maria stories of her father, his laughter, his love, keeping his memory alive. These moments, though fleeting, are her defiance, her love a shield against the world's judgment. Widows like Antonia were the unsung heroes of Renaissance Italy, their lives a quiet struggle against loss and limitation. They managed households, raised children, and preserved their family's honor, their strength unwritten but enduring. Picture them now in homes across Milan, their veils folded, their hands busy with work. They were mothers, sisters, survivors, their stories woven into the fabric of the Renaissance. Their courage, though unseen, shaped the future, their lives a bridge to a world where women might one day stand free. Dear listener, let your mind drift to a bustling street in Florence, where the golden light of dawn spills over cobblestones and market stalls. It is the year 1493, and the air hums with the scent of spices and the clatter of carts. Picture a woman, perhaps named Julia, standing at the threshold of her home, a ledger tucked under her arm, her eyes scanning the marketplace beyond. In Renaissance Italy, merchant wives like Julia were the unseen pillars of their families, their hands balancing commerce and care, their lives bound by duty and dreams. Tonight, we step softly into their world, where every coin counted and every choice was watched. Their stories, woven through the fabric of trade, speak of resilience and quiet strength. Let the gentle rustle of parchment guide you now as we wander through their lives of labor and love. Settle in and let the past unfold gently like a bolt of silk unrolling in the morning light. Imagine Julia's home, a sturdy house near the Ponte Vecchio, its walls adorned with woven hangings, its floors warmed by a crackling hearth. The air carries the scent of rosemary and fresh bread, mingling with the faint tang of ink from the ledger on her table. Julia is 28, her dark hair pinned beneath a linen cap, her hands deft from years of managing her husband's wool trade. Her husband, Lorenzo, is a merchant, his days spent bargaining in the market or traveling to Lucca for cloth. But it is Julia who keeps the household alive, her mind as sharp as her quill, her work the foundation of their modest wealth. In Renaissance Italy, the merchant class was the backbone of cities like Florence, Venice, and Siena, their trade in wool, silk, and spices fueling the economy. Merchant wives were essential to this world, their labor unseen but vital. Julia rises before dawn, her day a tapestry of tasks, overseeing servants, tallying accounts, preparing meals, mending clothes. Her home is a hub of activity, its rooms filled with the clink of coins and the rustle of fabric. She teaches her daughter, Beatrice, to embroider, her son, Marco, to count, their futures tied to the family's trade. Yet her role is rarely acknowledged, her name absent from the guild records that praise Lorenzo's success. Let us linger by Giulia's table, where she sits in the morning light, her ledger open, her quill scratching sums of florins and bales of wool. The merchant's wife was often the keeper of accounts, her calculations ensuring the family's survival. Giulia tracks Lorenzo's sales, noting the price of cloth sold to a Venetian trader, the cost of dyes from the East. Her handwriting, neat and precise, is a skill she learned from her father, a minor merchant who taught her in secret. In Renaissance Italy, literacy was rare among women, but merchant wives like Giulia often mastered it. Their knowledge acquired power in a world that valued men's signature. The economic life of a merchant family was precarious. A failed shipment, a defaulting debtor, or a sudden tax could ruin years of work. Giulia knows this risk, her mind sharp as she balances income against expenses. She negotiates with suppliers when Lorenzo is away, her voice firm but polite, her smile masking her worry. In Florence, merchant wives like Margherita Dattini, whose letters survive in archives, managed vast enterprises, their husbands' absences leaving them in charge. Margherita's accounts detail her oversight of warehouses and loans, her decisions saving the family from ruin. Giulia, though less grand, shares this burden, her ledger a map of survival, her every entry a step towards stability. Picture now the marketplace, where Giulia barters for saffron, her basket heavy with goods for the week. The stalls buzz with voices, but her presence draws glances, some admiring, some suspicious. In Renaissance Italy, a merchant's wife was expected to be virtuous, her life confined to the home, her movements watched by neighbors and kin. The law reinforced this, rooted in Roman codes and enforced by city councils. A woman could not sign contracts, own property, or act without her husband's consent. Giulia's work, though vital, is legally Lorenzo's, her contributions hidden behind his name. If she errs, a miscalculation, a sharp word, her honor is at stake, her family's reputation fragile. The church too shaped her world. Preachers praised women who served their husbands, their sermons echoing St. Paul's call for submission. Giulia attends Mass each Sunday, her head covered, her prayers a plea for wisdom and strength. Yet the church offered little protection. If Lorenzo were to die, Giulia's dowry, gold and linens from her marriage, might be claimed by his kin, leaving her with nothing. In Venice, laws allowed widows to reclaim dowries, but in Florence, disputes often favored male heirs. Giulia knows this, her ledger a shield against such a future, her careful management a hedge against loss. Let us drift to the afternoon, when Giulia oversees the kitchen, her hands kneading dough, her eyes watching the servant girl who stirs a pot of stew. The labor of a merchant's wife was relentless, a day stretching from dawn to dusk. She manages the household budget, ensuring there is oil for the lamps, cloth for the children's clothes, food for the table. She visits the Weavers' Guild, not as a member, but as Lorenzo's envoy, her words carrying his authority. She checks the quality of wool, her fingers testing its weight, her knowledge rivaling any merchant's. Yet her work is invisible, her name absent from the contracts that bear Lorenzo's seal. This invisibility was a common fate. In Siena, merchant wives ran shops when their husbands travelled, their hands sorting spices or silks. In Venice, women like Zelia Dandolo managed shipping ventures, their letters negotiating terms with distant ports. These women were partners in their husbands' success, but history rarely recorded their names. Julia, we might imagine, keeps a private journal, its pages filled with notes on prices and patterns, a quiet record of her labor. She dreams of a shop of her own, but such ambitions are forbidden. Her role confined to the shadows of Lorenzo's trade. Picture Julia now, in the evening, as she sits with Beatrice, teaching her to sew a seam. The fire casts shadows on the wall, their shapes dancing like the dreams Julia once held. Society expected merchant wives to be models of virtue, modest, obedient, fertile. A woman who failed to bear sons, who spoke too boldly, or who neglected her duties faced whispers of disgrace. Julia feels this pressure, her neighbors' eyes noting her warm gown, her tired face. She works too much, they say, and forgets her place. Yet Julia's work is her family's lifeline, her care, the thread that binds them. Church reinforced these expectations, its priests preaching that a woman's honor lay in her service. Sumptuary laws in Florence dictated Julia's dress, banning bright colors or lavish jewels, lest she seem vain. She wears a simple gown, its gray fabric a mark of modesty, but her heart longs for the silks she sells. She navigates these rules with care, her smile a mask for her frustrations. When Lorenzo returns from Lucca, he praises her thrift but rarely her skill, his words a reminder of her place. Yet Julia persists, her hands steady, her mind sharp, her love for her children, a quiet rebellion against constraint. Despite these limits, some merchant wives found power in their roles. Picture Julia at a guild banquet, a rare invitation earned by Lorenzo's success. She sits quietly, her eyes taking in the room. Merchants, bankers, their wives adorned in velvet. She listens, her mind noting alliances and rivalries, her words few but chosen with care. In Renaissance Italy, merchant wives often acted as mediators, their homes a space for deals and diplomacy. Julia hosts dinners for Lorenzo's clients, her table a stage where she plays the gracious hostess, her charm sealing contracts her husband negotiates. Women like Margherita Dattini wielded such influence, their letters shaping trade networks across Europe. Julia, though less prominent, shares this spirit. She advises Lorenzo on a risky loan, her caution saving them from debt. She teaches Beatrice to read, hoping her daughter might one day write her own ledger. These acts, though small, were defiance, a claim to agency in a world that sought to silence her. Some merchant wives in wealthier families became patrons, funding chapels or artists. Julia dreams of such a legacy, her savings hidden in a locked chest, a hope for her children's future. Merchant wives like Julia were the unsung architects of Renaissance prosperity, their labor the foundation of their family's wealth. They balanced ledgers, raised children, and preserved honor. Their lives a quiet symphony of endurance. Picture them now in homes across Florence, their hands busy, their hearts steadfast. They were partners, mothers, keepers of the hearth, their stories woven into the cloth of Italy's cities. Their strength, though rarely celebrated, shaped the Renaissance, their ledgers a testament to their skill. Dear listener, let your mind drift to a quiet village in the hills of Tuscany, where the moonlight casts long shadows over stone cottages. It is the year 1495, and the air is heavy with the scent of pine and burning herbs. Picture a woman, perhaps named Elena, standing at her door, her eyes wary as whispers drift through the village. In Renaissance Italy, the word witch was a spark that could ignite fear, turning neighbors into accusers and women into prey. Tonight, we step softly into their world, where superstition wove a web of danger and survival demanded courage. These women, marked by suspicion, carried their strength in silence, their lives a fragile thread in a tapestry of fear. Let the faint crackle of a distant fire guide you now, as we wander through their stories of peril and resilience. Settle in and let the past unfold gently like a shadow fading in the dawn. Imagine Elena's village, a cluster of homes nestled beneath a crumbling church tower, its bell tolling softly in the evening breeze. Elena is 30, her hands rough from years of grinding herbs and tending a small garden. She is a healer, her knowledge of plants learned from her grandmother, a woman whose remedies saved many in the village. Her cottage is modest, its walls hung with dried lavender and rosemary, their scent mingling with the smoke of a small hearth. In Renaissance Italy, villages like this were worlds unto themselves, their lives governed by the seasons, the church, and the ever-present fear of the unknown. For women like Elena, this fear was a constant shadow, their skills both valued and feared. Superstition was a powerful force in the Renaissance, its roots deep in a world where plague, famine, and sudden death were common. The church taught that evil lurked in the shadows, its agents, witches, blamed for every misfortune. A cow that stopped giving milk, a child struck by fever, a crop withered by drought, all could be the work of a witch, or so the villagers believed. Eleanor knows these whispers, their weight growing heavier with each passing year. Her remedies, once sought after, now draw narrowed eyes, her solitude a mark of suspicion. In Tuscany, trial records from the period show women accused for little more than owning a cat or brewing a tea, their lives upended by fear and envy. Let us linger by Elena's hearth, where she stirs a pot of chamomile, her hands steady but her heart uneasy. A neighbor, a woman whose child Elena could not save, has begun to whisper, her words sharp, her eyes cold. She cursed my boy, the woman says, her voice carrying through the village like wildfire. In Renaissance Italy, accusations of witchcraft often began this way, sparked by grief, jealousy, or a need to explain the unexplainable. Women were the most vulnerable, their roles as healers, midwives, or outsiders making them easy targets. Elena, unmarried and childless, is an anomaly in a village where women's worth was tied to family. Her independence, her knowledge, her quiet defiance, these are her crimes in the eyes of those who fear her. The church fueled this fear, its preachers warning of witches who consorted with the devil, their power as a threat to God's order. The Malleus Maleficarum, a 1486 treatise on witchcraft, the more influential later, reflected the growing obsession with rooting out heresy. In Italy, the Inquisition was a looming presence, its agents ready to investigate any whisper of sorcery. Trial records from Siena and Bologna reveal hundreds of women accused in the late 15th century, their fates decided by torture and testimony. Elena has heard these stories. A healer in a nearby village burned for a potion that failed, a widow exiled for owning a book of herbs. She keeps her own remedies hidden, her grandmother's recipes locked in a wooden chest, but she knows no lock can shield her from suspicion. Picture now a stormy night, a village church lit by torches, its pews filled with murmuring neighbors. Elena stands before the priest, her hands bound, her veil torn. The accusation has grown, fed by the neighbors' grief and the village's fear. A cow has died. A storm has ruined the harvest. And Elena's name is on every tongue. The priest, a man with a stern face and a heavy cross, questions her, his voice echoing in the stone nave. Did you curse the child? Did you brew a spell? Elena's denials are soft, her voice trembling, for she knows the truth matters little. In Renaissance Italy, a witchcraft trial was a theater of fear, its outcome often decided before it began. The Inquisition's methods were brutal. Accused women were stripped, searched for devil's marks, moles or scars deemed proof of witchcraft. Torture, ropes, racks, or burning irons was used to extract confessions, the pain breaking even the innocent. Records from Venice show a woman named Caterina, accused in 1490, who confessed under torture to flying with demons, her words a desperate plea to end the pain. She was exiled, her life ruined. Elena, we might imagine, faces no torture yet, but the threat looms. The priest questions her herbs, her solitude, her refusal to marry. Her neighbors testify. Their stories a mix of truth and invention, their fear outweighing their gratitude for her past cures. Let us drift to the quiet of Eleanor's cell, a cold room beneath the church, where she waits for judgment. The air is damp, the walls slick with moss, the only sound the drip of water in the dark. Women like Eleanor were often scapegoats, their lives sacrificed to ease a village's fears. Midwives, healers, and widows were the most accused, their knowledge or independence seen as unnatural. In Florence, trial records show a midwife named Giovanna, accused in 1492 of causing a stillbirth through witchcraft. Her skills blamed for nature's cruelty. She was fined and banished, her reputation destroyed. Eleanor's own skills, her teas for fever, her salves for wounds, are now evidence against her, her healing twisted into harm. The social stigma was relentless. An accused woman was shunned, her family tainted, her home avoided. Eleanor's brother, a farmer, pleads for her, but his voice is drowned by the village's anger. Her garden, once a source of pride, is trampled, her herbs burned as tools of the devil. The church's teachings, rooted in fear of women's power, fueled this persecution. Women were seen as weaker, more prone to the devil's sway, their bodies and minds suspect. Yet Eleanor's heart remains steady, her prayers to the Virgin Mary a whisper of defiance. She knows her innocence, but she also knows the power of fear, its ability to turn neighbors into enemies. Yet, even in this darkness, there was strength. Picture Elena now, in her cell, her fingers tracing a prayer scratched into the stone. She thinks of her grandmother, whose remedies saved lives, whose stories kept hope alive. Women like Elena found ways to endure, their resilience a quiet rebellion against a world that sought to break them. Some, like a healer named Lucia in Siena, were acquitted, their neighbors' testimonies outweighed by their good deeds. Lucia's trial records show a woman who stood firm, her knowledge of herbs proving her piety, not her guilt. Elena, we might imagine, clings to such stories, her heart tethered to the hope of justice. Some women turned accusation into agency. In Venice, a courtesan named Isabetta, accused of witchcraft in 1498, used her wit to charm the court. Her acquittal were testament to her skill. Elena lacks such charm, but her knowledge is her shield. She recalls every patient she saved, every fever broken, every wound healed. These memories, though private, are her defiance, her life a testament to her grandmother's legacy. She prays for her village, even those who accuse her, her forgiveness a strength they cannot take. The women accused of witchcraft were the forgotten martyrs of Renaissance Italy, their lives a warning of fear's power and a testament to courage. They were healers, midwives, mothers, their knowledge both their gift and their curse. Picture them now in villages across Italy, their hands busy with herbs, their hearts steady in the face of suspicion. Their stories, though rarely written, linger in the whispers of history, their resilience a light in the darkness. Elena's fate, we might hope, is kinder than most, perhaps an acquittal, a return to her garden, a life rebuilt. But even if it is not, her spirit endures, her strength a thread in the tapestry of the Renaissance. Dear listener, let your mind drift to a quiet room in Verona, where the soft glow of a candle flickers against parchment-covered walls. It is the year 1490, and the air carries the scent of ink and old books. Picture a woman, perhaps named Beatrice, sitting at a wooden desk, her quill poised over a letter, her eyes alight with thoughts too vast for her world. In Renaissance Italy, the pursuit of knowledge was a man's domain, its doors barred to women. Yet some, like Beatrice, dared to dream of scholarship. Tonight we step gently into their lives, where learning was both a forbidden fruit and a quiet rebellion. Their stories, written in the margins of history, speak of intellect and courage. Let the faint scratch of a quill guide you now, as we wander through their world of dreams and defiance. Settle in and let the past unfold gently, like a page turning in the moonlight. Imagine Beatrice's room, a small chamber in her father's house, its walls lined with shelves of worn books, Latin poetry, theological tracts, a copy of Petrarch's sonnets. The air is cool, the window open to the hum of Verona's streets, where merchants call and church bells toll. Beatrice is 22, her dark hair loosely braided, her hands stained with ink from hours of writing. She is the daughter of a minor noble, a man who values her mind but fears its ambition. In Renaissance Italy, education was a privilege reserved for men. Its halls, universities, libraries, humanist circles, closed to women. Yet, Beatrice has learned in secret, her knowledge pieced together from her brother's tutors, her father's books, and her own relentless curiosity.
The Renaissance was a time of intellectual rebirth, when scholars rediscovered the works of Plato and Cicero, their ideas fueling debates in Florence, Venice, and Padua. Humanism, with its focus on reason and learning, promised a new world, but its light rarely reached women. Boys were sent to schools, their minds shaped by Latin and rhetoric, while girls were taught to sew, pray, and manage households. Beatrice, an exception, was allowed to sit in on her brother's lessons, her presence tolerated but not encouraged. She memorized Virgil's verses, her mind drinking in words like water, but her tutor warned her, a woman's learning is a dangerous thing. Her father, torn between pride and caution, keeps her studies hidden, her books a secret kept behind locked doors. Let us linger by Beatrice's desk, where she writes a letter to a friend, her words flowing with ideas about love and virtue. Her quill moves swiftly, but her heart is heavy with the weight of her constraints. In Renaissance Italy, women's education was limited by law, custom, and suspicion. Universities like Bologna and Padua, centers of learning, admitted only men. Their lecture halls filled with the sons of nobles and merchants. Women were barred from formal study, their intellect seen as unnatural, their curiosity a threat to the order of society. The church, a guardian of knowledge, preached that women's minds were meant for piety, not philosophy, their role to serve, not to question. Beatrice's learning is a patchwork, a knowledge stolen in moments of solitude. She reads her father's books at night, her candle burning low, her eyes straining in the dim light. She copies passages from Boethius, her handwriting neat but hurried, fearing discovery. Her brother, now at university, sends her notes from his lectures, but they are incomplete, her understanding limited by what he chooses to share. Women like Laura Cereta, a Venetian scholar who lived from 1469 to 1499, faced similar barriers. Cereta's letters, preserved in archives, reveal a woman who taught herself Latin and Greek. Her essays on marriage and learning a defiance of her time. Yet even Cereta was mocked, her work dismissed as a novelty, her intellect a curiosity rather than a gift. Now the courtyard of Beatrice's home, where she walks with her mother, the air scented with booming jasmine. Her mother, a woman of quiet strength, urges her to marry, her voice gentle but firm. Books will not keep you warm, she says, her eyes tracing Beatrice's ink-stained hands. In Renaissance Italy, a woman's value was tied to her role as wife and mother, her mind secondary to her duties. Beatrice's father, though proud of her learning, seeks a husband for her, his letters to suitors praising her modesty, not her mind. To be a scholar was to defy these expectations, to risk scorn and isolation. Neighbors whisper of Beatrice's oddity, their voices sharp. A woman with books
is no proper lady. The church reinforced this, its priests preaching that women's minds were weaker, their curiosity a path to sin. Humanist scholars like Leon Battista Alberti wrote that a woman's virtue lay in silence, her learning a distraction from her duties. Beatrice feels this pressure, her studies a secret she guards carefully. She hides her letters, her poems, her thoughts, knowing a single misstep could ruin her. In Florence, a woman named Cassandra Fedele, a scholar of the late 15th century, spoke at the University of Padua, her eloquence stunning the crowd. Yet even Fedele faced criticism, her learning deemed unnatural, her life a cautionary tale for women like Beatrice. Let us drift to the evening, when Beatrice sits alone, her candle casting shadows on a page of her own writing, a treatise on the soul, inspired by Plato. Her words are bold. Her ideas a rebellion against the world that seeks to silence her. To be a woman scholar was to live in the margins, to carve out space where none was given. Beatrice writes in Latin, her sentences flowing with a grace she cannot show in public. She dreams of sharing her work, of joining the humanist circles that meet in Verona's palazzos. But such dreams are dangerous. Women scholars were rare, their voices drowned by the clamor of men's debates. Laura Serrata's life offers a glimpse of this struggle. Her letters, written in the 1480s, defend women's right to learn, her words sharp against critics who called her unnatural. She corresponded with scholars, her mind a match for theirs, but her work was often ignored, her legacy preserved only by chance. Beatrice, we might imagine, writes to a friend in Venice, a woman who shares her love of books. Their letters, smuggled by trusted servants, are a lifeline, a space where they can speak freely. Beatrice's words are her defiance, her quill a weapon against a world that seeks to confine her mind. Yet, ambition came at a price. Picture Beatrice now at a family banquet, her presence a quiet shadow among her father's guests. A scholar invited to dine praises her brother's learning, his eyes passing over Beatrice as if she were invisible. She longs to speak, to share her thoughts on Aristotle, but her father's glance warns her to stay silent. To be a woman scholar was to live with this silence, to know your words might never be heard. Serrata faced similar scorn, her letters mocked by men who called her a fraud, her work attributed to her father. Beatrice, too, knows this risk. Her writings could be dismissed, her reputation ruined by a single accusation of pride. Her health, too, bears the cost. Late nights spent reading strain her eyes, her candles burning through her father's purse. Her mother worries, her brother teases, and Beatrice feels the weight of their expectations. If she marries, her books may be left behind, her studies traded for a dowry. Yet she persists, her mind a sanctuary where she is free. She writes a poem, we might imagine, its lines hidden in a locked box, its words a dream of a world where women's minds are celebrated. This is her rebellion, her legacy,
a whisper of her soul preserved in ink. Women scholars like Beatrice were the unsung pioneers of the Renaissance. Their minds alight in a world that preferred darkness. They wrote in secret, their letters and poems a testament to their courage. Picture them now, in chambers across Italy, their quills moving in the candlelight, their hearts alight with ideas. They were daughters, sisters, dreamers. Their stories woven into the margins of history. Their learning, though hidden, planted seeds for future generations. Their words a bridge to a world where women might speak freely. Laura Serreta, Cassandra Fedele, and others left a legacy, their writings preserved in dusty archives, their voices a whisper of defiance. Beatrice, though fictional, carries their spirit, her quill a beacon in the night. Her life, like theirs, is a testament to the power of the mind, its ability to soar beyond the walls of tradition. Let their memory linger now as the night deepens, as the chamber fades into shadow. Dear listener, let your mind drift to a grand palazzo in Venice, where the soft glow of dawn seeps through heavy shutters. It is the year 1498, and the air carries the scent of damp stone and freshly baked bread. Picture a woman, perhaps named Rosa, moving silently through a marble hall, her broom sweeping dust from the floor, her hands worn from years of toil. In Renaissance Italy, servants like Rosa were the unseen hands that kept homes alive, their labor the foundation of others' comfort, their lives a whisper in the shadows. Tonight, we step gently into their world, where every task was a burden, and every moment a test of endurance. Their stories, though rarely told, speak of strength and quiet courage. Let the faint clatter of a broom guide you now, as we wander through their lives of labor and sacrifice. Settle in and let the past unfold gently, like a cloth smoothed by weary hands. Imagine Rosa's world, a vast palazzo along the Grand Canal, its walls adorned with frescoes of gods and heroes, its floors gleaming with polished stone. The air is cool, the silence broken only by the distant lapping of water and the soft tread of Rosa's feet. She is 26, her dark hair tucked beneath a coarse cap, her apron stained from a morning's work. Rosa is a servant, one of many women who toiled in the households of Venice's nobles and merchants. Her days begin before dawn and end long after dusk, her tasks endless, sweeping, scrubbing, cooking, carrying. In Renaissance Italy, servants were the backbone of every grand home, their labor invisible but essential, their lives bound to the whims of their masters. Servants like Rosa were often young women from poor families, sent to work in cities to ease their parents' burdens. Some came from villages, others from the slums of Venice or Florence. Their wages, a few lire a month, sent home to feed siblings or pay debts. Rosa, we might imagine, was born in a village near Padua, her family farmers who could not afford her dowry. At 14, she was sent to serve in the palazzo of Signor Alvise, a wealthy merchant whose household hums with activity,
the palazzo is a world of contrasts. Silk gowns and silver plates for the masters, coarse linen and wooden bowls for the servants. Rosa's life is one of constant motion, her hands never idle, her presence unnoticed unless she errs.
Let us linger in the kitchen, where Rosa kneels by the hearth, her hands black with soot as she tends the fire. The air is thick with the scent of onions and boiling broth, the heat a weight on her shoulders. Her tasks are many, chopping vegetables, kneading dough, scouring pots, fetching water from the canal. The kitchen is the heart of the palazzo, its rhythms dictated by the demands of feasts and daily meals. Rosa works alongside other servants, cooks, maids, laundresses, their voices low, their laughter rare. In Renaissance Italy, servants' labor was grueling, their days stretching from before sunrise to after midnight, their bodies worn by the weight of their tasks. Household records from Venice and Florence show that servants were paid little, often less than a man's wage for similar work. Rosa earns enough to buy bread and send a few coins home, but her meals are scraps, leftover bread, watery soup, a rind of cheese. Her bed is a straw pallet in a damp cellar, shared with other maids, their sleep broken by the call to work. The physical toll is relentless. Her back aches from carrying buckets, her hands crack from scrubbing, her eyes strain in the dim light. Yet, she persists. Her labor, a lifeline for her family. Her endurance, a quiet defiance of her lot. Picture now the courtyard, where Rosa hangs linens to dry, her hands raw from washing in cold water. The sun is high, but her thoughts are shadowed by fear. Servants in Renaissance Italy were vulnerable, their lives at the mercy of their masters' whims. Sexual exploitation was a constant threat, particularly for young women like Rosa. Household accounts and court records reveal cases of servants abused by masters, their complaints rarely heard. A maid who spoke out risked dismissal, her reputation ruined, her family left destitute. Rosa has learned to avoid Signor Alvise's son, his eyes lingering too long, his smile a danger she sidesteps with lowered eyes and hurried steps. The law offered little protection. In Venice, servants were subject to their master's authority, their contracts binding them to years of service. If Rosa were to flee, she could be arrested, her wages forfeited, her name marked as a runaway. The church, too, reinforced her place, its priests preaching obedience as a virtue, their sermons silent on the abuses servants faced. Rosa carries this weight, her silence a shield, her prayers a plea for safety. She knows of a maid in a neighboring palazzo, dismissed after a master's advances, her life reduced to begging in the streets. Such stories are a warning, their echoes a constant hum in Rosa's mind. Let us drift to the evening when Rosa polishes silver in the dining hall, her cloth moving in slow circles, her reflection faint in the gleaming plates. The palazzo is quiet, the family at a banquet, their laughter distant. Rosa's work is invisible, her presence unnoticed unless a floor is unswept or a dish unprepared. In Renaissance Italy, servants were seen as extensions of the household, their individuality erased by their role. Rosa's name is rarely spoken, her efforts unthanked, her life a shadow in the grandeur of the palazzo. Yet, her hands keep the house alive, her labor the foundation of its splendor. This invisibility was a common fate. In Florence, household ledgers list servants' wages, but rarely their names, their lives reduced to numbers. In Venice, sumptuary laws dictated servants' dress, coarse wool, no colors, ensuring their status was clear. Rosa wears a grey gown, its hem frayed, its simplicity a mark of her place. Neighbours in the market barely acknowledge her, their eyes passing over her as if she were part of the stone. Yet Rosa feels the weight of her work, her pride in a clean hearth, a well-cooked meal, a silent rebellion against her erasure.